Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Pigskin Breakdown. I am Brandon Leonard, joined today by JD, John Gunderson, here with me today, and a very special guest. We'll get into our special guest here in just a moment. A few housekeeping items before we get too deep into our interview with Coach Reed Hoskins from Simpson College. Be sure to follow along on social media for clips and updates with all of our shows, and subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast channels for full episodes. And we need to highlight a special sponsor, JD, too. I know we got some farmers that support and listen to Sports Guys Iowa shows, and now we got a sponsor supporting us that's also looking to help farmers. Farmers, protect your yield and improve your fields with Van Ag out of DIII. Van Ag offers precision drone applications for fungicides, foliar nutrients, and fast, accurate cover crop seeding. Less crop damage, more efficiency, and the ability to work when other equipment won't. Call Nate Van Buren with Van Ag at 319-430-3671 to learn more about how Van Ag can help you in your farm. That's Nate Van Buren with Van Ag at 319-430-3671. And I think I'd have to go back and look through the chronicles of Sports Guys Iowa history, but I think we got our first repeat guest. So I think that means Coach Hoskins is our best friend as far as other coaches go. Thanks again for coming on today, Coach Hoskins. We really appreciate you taking some time. So let's do a little bit of a recap. So we mentioned before you've been on a show. Tell the listeners, though, a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and your stops along the way before you got to where you're at Simpson College.
Sure. Yeah. And thanks again, Brandon, John, for having me back on. And I take a great pride in being the first repeat guest here. It's a bit over a year ago that we got together, and a lot of great things have happened, certainly with the show in the last year. And just want to certainly express my appreciation for everything you guys do. It's been really fun to see it grow here in the last year for sure. I guess my first question is, am I still your favorite Coach Hoskins? That's an important one there, because there seems to be a lot of those football coaches around the state.
Hey, you're number one in my book, at least.
Yeah, the Peacock Corner show guys, Coach Reed,
absolutely.
We're going to have to call you. They have Coach Jason on all the time for Upper Iowa.
I was going to say, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Coach Jason Hoskins yet.
Yeah. Great guy, doing great things up there as well. And every time we see each other, it's like, hey, the hardest working Coach Hoskins in the state. That's what he calls me. So I'll take that feather in my cap, that's for sure. But Iowa's always been home to me. Certainly a few different stops throughout my coaching career, mainly throughout the Midwest. But born in Fort Dodge, a lot of family on my mom's side in the northwest side of the state. Lived in Algona for a few years, but really grew up in the Tama-Toledo area. Actually, the picture over my shoulder right here is my dad's father, Harold Hoskins, longtime football coach in the state of Iowa at the college and high school levels. Finished up at South Tama STC right there. Was his last stop, and lived there, grew up through 8th grade, and I ended up moving to Grinnell Rivals, which was an interesting time, going from 8th grade to high school, and played all 4 sports there, but really had a great small town Iowa experience from that side of it. Played college football at Wartburg College in Waverly, and now certainly a great rival of ours. And one of my teammates was Chris Winter, their current head coach, and that certainly adds to that rivalry a little bit for sure. But after my time playing quarterback there, actually moved out to North Carolina, lived in Rocky Mount. It was a school that was only in their 3rd year of college football on their campus. Had no seniors. Shoot, I was the same age as a couple of my receivers that I was coaching. So a great experience, but missed home, missed being in the Midwest, and coincidentally enough, missed some of those winters. But did my grad assistant work at St. Cloud State up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, when they still had a football program. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore. But was there with some really great coaches that I still stay in touch with. Coach Randy Hedberg was the head coach there. Just finished up his career as the quarterback's coach at North Dakota State for a number of years, and picked up some great mentors there as well. Returned to my alma mater, Wartburg, for 3 years in 8, 9, and 10. Coached the quarterbacks and receivers and was recruiting coordinator there. And my first OC job was in the Wisconsin League at the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. I was there for 5 years as the OC, and actually was teaching classes there as well, as a lot of those setups are. And then for 7 years, I was at Illinois Wesleyan University in the CCIW. Bloomington Normal was a great place. That's where we raised a few of our kids there, and certainly have a lot of fond memories. And about 4 years ago is when this job came open, and Simpson's a place that I certainly had some great connections to, from just living an hour down the road, certainly growing up there, being recruited here by Coach Williams. Obviously, a lot of games back and forth as a player and coach, and really excited to be a part of this community and Simpson College in its entirety, that's for sure.
Indianola is a great town. That was one when I think back to my recruiting journey when I was in high school, and I was really close to I actually did send my deposit to Simpson. There was a lot of things I like about that program. Now ended up going a different route, but nothing but great things to say about that campus and the football program as well. And you've really started to get the program back on the right track. You're stacking some wins as you enter your fourth season in Indianola. What makes you the most optimistic about this year's team?
Yeah, and appreciate you asking that. Each team is different. Even this year, where on paper we have a lot of returning starters. A year ago, we were playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and we're out on the field for us a ton. And we certainly lost some impactful seniors this past year, a couple on each side, but we have a lot of young experience coming back. And that's always a positive thing. It really is. But just getting a chance to see these guys work through the off season, had a great spring. Shoot, we have a number of guys, is the most we've had since I've been here, that stuck around this summer, and a lot of guys locally that are working out together and continuing to capitalize on that positive momentum. I'm really excited to see some of those young, impactful players that were on the field last year now really turning into leaders for us and continuing to raise that standard. And it's all really a head coach can ask for, is guys that want to continue to work hard and be better than they were the day before. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And you talk about leadership, something that's important on any team, at any sport, any level. Who's emerged as a leader of this team, and what qualities do your best leaders possess that make them effective in the locker room?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Our four captains that were named after the spring would obviously be guys I would point to immediately. Noah Craycraft, who is a multiple-time all-conference receiver, first-team all-conference last year, and his first year coming from Valley in a 5A school. And sometimes there's some reservations by some guys at bigger schools that, oh, shoot, my high school is bigger than your college. And a lot of times guys are missing out on the experience and really what it means to be a part of a college football team. And Noah got a lot of attention his first year, was setting all sorts of records as a freshman. In this day in college football, everybody asks after a good first season, where they transferring to, what's next from that side, where things move to in that way. And Noah has grown up a ton, doubled down on his commitment to certainly our program and being a leader within the Simpson football team, and was named a captain this past spring, and has really done a great job of organizing a lot of our guys and staying connected with them. So Noah is certainly a great one. And then honestly, Nolan Pagel, who is one of our few seniors going into this year. We don't have a huge class. That first group after I was hired and put together staff, and Nolan Pagel is going to be a 4-year starter for us. Was in there starting at nose guard in our league at 200 pounds and 5'9", and they're just battling it out with some guys that are, shoot, some of the linemen at that point, when he was a freshman, were getting looked at by some free agencies and in some NFL camps as well. He's a guy that has grown every single year, has been an all-conference guy last year, and really brings a lot of toughness to our group. And being a senior, being through a lot of the transformations, a guy that believed in this program when we were coming off of back-to-back 1-9 seasons and still chose Simpson as his home. Really resonates a lot with a lot of these younger guys, and has impacted his ability to lead in a big way. That's for sure. So certainly a number of those guys, but Craycraft and Pagel from each side of the ball are really going to be great captains for us this year.
I love that. A lot to be excited about from the player perspective. And I think there's a lot to be excited about looking at your schedule. So let's talk about this schedule. Okay, let's dive right in. So you start off on the road with a night game against Augustana. Now, for those of you that don't remember how 2025 played out, an absolute classic week 1 for Simpson and Augustana. Came up on the wrong side of things for the result. It was an overtime loss, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, so they went up a couple scores early. We came firing back and took the lead in the second half, and they tied it up real late in the fourth quarter. Went to overtime, they scored and kicked the extra point, and then we answered, scored, and the head coach went for 2, and we didn't get it. Now, this is the consolation. I don't know if it made me feel better or worse, but we had our receiver, our senior, a big 6'4" kid, wide open in the back of the end zone for the win. Quarterback threw it. D lineman knocked it down right at the last minute. So, like I said, I don't know if it made me feel better or worse seeing the film, but certainly set the tone to our season. That's for sure.
I joked a few weeks ago, we had another Warbird night on Casey Kroll, who is now the head coach over at Iowa Valley in Marengo.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, looking at their stat column from last year, and they kick a ton of PATs. And I just said, hey, man, don't you know two's worth more than one? What are you doing there? So I'm always with going for two, being aggressive in overtime. I really love that. And I think, like you said, there's pros and cons to each one, but go with the aggressiveness, in my opinion. Let's pivot then to week 2. So you go from Augustana to a home game, another night game against a team that made it into the NCAA Division III playoffs last year, Crown. So tell us a little bit about that game, and then you're off a week. And am I seeing this right? You're actually playing at the Star, the Dallas Cowboys facilities in Frisco. So talk about those matchups now.
Yeah. And Crown is a great opponent. Has been on our schedule each of the last 4 seasons, and it's been fun seeing our program grow each year, but seeing their program grow obviously into a playoff team this past year. And they've got a heck of a quarterback coming back, big strong guy. That runner was an all-conference guy in their league, and it'll definitely be a guy we have to prepare for. We're excited. This will be the last game with us and Crown in our partnership, so we want to make sure that we finish things on the right foot as far as that goes. But anytime we have a night game, the guys usually wear the all-black uniforms there, and a great presence from our students is always a fun time. So we're really looking forward to that first opportunity in front of our fans. And then, we got an early bye. That's some of the fallout with Luther leaving the league and everything kind of being rescheduled here for the next couple of years. And we start searching around for different opponents that, are common opponents, and obviously would give us the opportunity to get a win that would count towards the postseason, certainly. And Howard Payne was who we got connected with. And we talked about a number of neutral sites and opportunities because they needed a home game. We kind of needed a home game, but more than anything else, we needed a contest. They brought up the idea of playing at the Star there in Frisco, the Dallas Cowboys, their village in there and their practice facility. They hosted, I know, at least one bowl game there this past December as well. So got a chance to see that venue, watch that pretty closely. And I know our guys are really excited about that opportunity to play in that setting, and certainly play a new opponent is always fun.
Yeah, I feel like you don't get that at a lot of places where you look across the board with a lot of American Rivers Conference teams, and you see some going across the border to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, hit those bordering schools. But to be able to, I guess I would classify this as a bit of an experience for your program. That's really neat. Now, I don't know if you've got the logistics for that, but what does that look like from a travel standpoint? Do you get to leave early in the week, and how does that impact your team with maybe classes and whatnot?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question, because where we're located in Indianola within our conference, we're pretty lucky. We don't have to have a ton of overnights every year, maybe 1 or 2. Last year we stayed at Crown, obviously, but this is an experience, that's for sure. We do have a good amount of that detail for our travel really laid out from that side of it. It's a good bus trip, that's for sure. So we'll take off in pretty good time on Friday morning and travel down and find some good places to eat and a site to practice that way, and try to get down there in pretty good time. So we'll spend a lot of time on Friday traveling that way, get a practice in, and then get a chance. We really like it when we do overnight in the evenings, just getting a chance for the guys to relax a little bit. Shoot, we stayed in Minneapolis before playing Crown the last couple of years. Sometimes that's the biggest or nicest hotel some of our guys have ever stayed in. So it's quite the experience, that's for sure. So we're really looking forward to that. But we have a pretty good routine for what we do the night before. And our sports med team, our ATs, do a great job of doing a lot of things, some of the feel-good treatments, and just kind of getting our minds right that night before. And we're still kicking around some kickoff times. We have to work around Dallas a little bit. I think it's their bye week, actually, that week. They're not just completely off on that Saturday. They've got to practice a little bit earlier. My request was to wake up and let's play at 11 a.m. and get on the bus and get home. But no, the Jerry Jones, he wasn't working with me. I'll end up probably playing at 3 o'clock, which is a little later, but it's going to be such a cool experience for our guys. And just being in that atmosphere and getting a chance to really see just a piece of history with our game, whether they're a Cowboys fan or not, or hate those guys. It's a huge part of our game. And that's the cool thing. If you go to any of these facilities, especially at the NFL level, there's such a depth of history certainly within their program. But then like the Packers situation up there, they have so much history detailed out for over the years. And it's really cool for our guys to learn more about what came before them. That's for sure. So it is a great experience for our guys, and we're looking forward to it.
Love that for your program. It's something that I'm sure they'll never forget. That's for sure. You mentioned that early bye, then with that, and then you go right into ARC play. Tell me a little bit about maybe the order of the games and who you're expecting to be contenders, because we got 2 nationally ranked programs, at least in the initial D3 poll, and then got those guys down a little bit to the south of you that's also getting some votes. So let's talk a little about that conference schedule.
Yeah, and the order of it's a little different. Just they had to kind of reset it with Luther leaving. We have some trips where we're repeating and going to, like, our first conference game is up in Storm Lake and traveling up to BV again. And always like to be home, but at the same time, our guys are familiar with that trip and understand the timeline to it. Same thing with Loris. That's our next one. We'll be on the road a bit. We've only got 4 home games this year, and part of that is the neutral site at the Star. So we're road warriors through that first half of the season. Really, I think it's 4 of our first 5 are all on the road, which can take on some different challenges and something we talk about with our guys. And anywhere, anytime, it's put the ball down and let's play. And that's our mentality heading into this. But hosting Dubuque again for homecoming, that was a big win for us last year, and just an electric atmosphere on campus. Homecoming here on our campus is always awesome. They usually have soccer games right after us, so we kind of have the homecoming triple header, and it's an all-day tailgate and a big party, which is always a good time. But those top 3 within the league, Wartburg, Co., and Central, each of the last 3 seasons, it's finished that way in that order. And all 3 teams are very capable of playing in the postseason and making noise and being top 25 caliber teams every single year. And historically, that's going back to the old Iowa Conference when I played in it and coached in it, and certainly now with the American Rivers. Cracking into that top 3 is really the next challenge. There were years where Simpson was a part of that top 3, and Co has really done a great job of establishing themselves every single year as somebody that's going to compete. And shoot, you even look at the Wartburg and the Central and the Co games and just the comparative scores and seeing how those games played out at the end last year. Shoot, it's a flip of the coin with some of those. And fortunately or unfortunately for us, 3 of our last 4 games are against Co, Wartburg, and Central from that side. So we get 2 of those at home, which we're excited about for sure. But each of those teams continue to gain momentum and get better as the season goes on. And sometimes you see some kind of interesting scores early on in the season, and maybe some teams that, maybe they underperform, but then you see them a couple weeks later and they're really firing all cylinders. I think that's a mark for a really good football team, those that finish strong. And we have a lot of really good experienced coaches and that allow us to do that. It's a great league. So if you really look at it, like last year, Wartburg and Co made the playoffs with the expanded field. I think that our league is a 2 bid league every single year. I think that's safe to say. And then that 3rd team, Central, would have been playing in the postseason. So going into this year, that should be everybody's rallying cries. Get into that top 3 and get into the postseason. And that's certainly going to be a next big hurdle for us in our program here at Simpson.
Yeah, Coach, let me ask a question on that. There's only 12 at-large bids in NCAA. The ARC, there used to be only 4 as little as 3 years ago, and the ARC got one of those with Co. So the last 3 years, it's been a 2-bid league. And Central was just outside the math. Ghost, they missed by 3 places? Because it's a mathematical calculation. There's really a shot at almost 3 teams with the non-conference and everything. In terms of power conferences, there's 240 teams playing D3 football. The ARC's top 5. And so you're playing in one of the toughest leagues, and you got all the way to 4th last year.
Yeah, amazing news for all the programs. The ARC, the trajectory it's been on is just steady climb, and kudos to everyone involved, all the teams and all the people that make that happen. Coach, we want to talk a little bit about the identity of the 2026 Storm. So if fans are coming to watch Simpson football this fall, what identity do you want them to see on the field?
Yeah, a great deal of toughness. That's a huge piece of it. And we were preaching that 3 years ago when we first got there. And honestly, a lot of those games was just, hey, we want to fight for 4 quarters. There are plenty of games that some of those returners have been through where there was a fight for maybe a quarter or 2, and resigned to the fact that it wasn't going our way. And that's a hard mentality to play this game, to prepare, to put in the work, to be able to give up on those biggest moments. And that's a piece that I'm really proud to say that we've established as part of our team. A lot of toughness and a lot of fight, that's for sure. We have a group that understands that we have to be as consistent as possible to win in those big games. Other than Co came out and took control of the game on us last year, and I didn't have the guys ready to play. But if you really look at any other game throughout those 10 games. Wartburg, Central, we're up. We have a lead early on in the game. And not that we just decided that, oh, that was good enough for us, but didn't make the winning plays. And some of them were special teams wise. Some of them are offensively just making some good decisions, defensively making some tackles in some crucial moments where you can swing the score one way or the other. And our guys understand that. They see it. They know the difference between winning and losing is just so that razor thin. And that's a big piece that our leaders have really rallied behind is, hey, having that toughness, having that fight, but in those critical moments, being able to be consistent and making the big plays when they matter. And that's the part that I'm excited for everybody to see out of our group this year.
Absolutely. What would you want your opponents to say after playing a game against Simpson?
Yeah, they're glad it's over. So that's a big piece of it. They shouldn't want to play us from a schematic standpoint. We should be a pain in the butt there. Our guys just don't quit. They keep coming. They should be glad it's over. And I think that's a piece of it that even some of the teams that caught us this year, some guys I know well in the league that, they felt good getting out with the win. They're glad it was over. And that's the way I want it. I want to make sure that we're on the right side of that here this next time.
Yeah, you talked a lot about that. And yeah, JD, I remember when we were following along with that Warburg game earlier this year, and man, we're like, are they going to do it? Are they going to pull it off? And it was a little bit of a younger roster last year. Now that you got another year under a lot of people's belts, they're focused and probably got a sour taste in their mouth that they let them get away.
Yeah, that Wartburg game, block punt, and flipped that game. And you were right there. Last year, we spent a lot of time talking about this, Ghost. There was really the top four teams, it was flow of the game. They were very close. You were right there. Yep. Dubuque had some games like that too, where they were up and couldn't hold on. Mm-hmm. And I think the 8-man league, each team continues to get better. The whole league itself continues to climb. And I think it's, like you said, Coach, it's a 2-bid league. Maybe even some years a 3-bid league with a bowl game. You're going to have a lot of teams in the postseason.
Yeah, that's exciting. Just going from 25 years ago when I was playing, hey, the only thing that was guaranteed is if you win the league when you get in that AQ. And there were plenty of years where we only had one in, and not the second team wasn't certainly deserving, but that was just the structure of it. So it is exciting for me, for our coaches, but for our players to know that even within our league, you've got half the league really that sees that as a good opportunity and it's to get in the postseason. And I think that's just great for small college football, and especially in the state of Iowa. That's for sure.
For sure. And we've talked a lot about success, what that might look like on the field for you. At the end of this season, what would you like to see out of your players, maybe off the field, and what do you want them to take with the next chapter after they're done with Simpson?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. That's something that since I've been here that we really try to reinforce is, a lot is made out of those 10 Saturdays in the fall. And a lot of times as a program, as a player, as a coach, you can really measure your worth off of wins and losses. And in my experience, now getting into my 4th season as a head coach, I think you really fall short in the job if you only look at that win-loss record. Obviously, that's why we do it. We're excited about the trajectory of things and having our first winning season last year since 2018. That's something that a lot of our guys take a lot of pride in. A lot of our seniors leaving it better than they found it. But that doesn't just apply to those games. They've really developed and committed to a culture of just growth and development. And certainly that applies to on the field and practice times, those game opportunities. But you can't be all about the work on the field and then slacking in the weight room, or, hey, being all about the football side of things and great in the weight room, but then you're skipping class or you're barely eligible from semester to semester. It's like those habits don't match up and are constant conflict that way. For us, it's making sure that we're establishing and really genuinely committing to those good habits that are going to continue to build our character, going to allow us to certainly be successful on the field, in the weight room, but also in the classroom and in our campus community and beyond from that side. And we do have a group that has really grabbed a hold of that and made it their own in so many ways. And that's one of the things that it's so fun when our guys get here and a week from tomorrow and everybody files in and we finally have our whole group there together. It's quite the experience to see our upperclassmen take ownership in what our program is and what it's about and how we define success, and then turn around and teach it to those guys behind them. And it's such a cool part of this profession. It really is. And I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a bunch of coaches that believe in that, a bunch of players, and a bunch of guys that come here for something more. And that's something that we're pretty intentional about in the recruiting process, finding guys that know that this isn't just football. It's not just football all day, every day. Certainly we spend a lot of time on it. There's no question. But there's a lot of other things to their experience and just their journey becoming the man they want to be. And I consider myself pretty fortunate to have a front row seat to that experience.
Coach, I just have one other quick question, but about how many starters you coming back? You mentioned a few players. You got a heck of a quarterback coming back from Thorson, and you got some linebackers. Could you give us a little detail on that looking ahead this fall?
Yeah, we really have. And I just sent the same thing in this morning, actually, to our conference. Yeah, we have about 7 to 8 guys on each side of the ball that are coming back, and a few seniors, but not a lot in there. So a lot of guys that were freshmen, sophomores last year coming back with another year of experience under their belt. Jaden Thorson, our quarterback, is certainly a big one. Shoot, at this time last year, we didn't know. Now, we knew Jaden was very talented and had a few other guys that competed with him throughout our camp. But going to Augustana week, we wanted to really, being a former quarterback, coaching those guys, we wanted to have a defined starter and make sure he had every opportunity to be successful. And he grew throughout the year. I think beyond some of the stats and completion percentage, his efficiency were really good, but he showed a lot of toughness. I mean, there's some good D-lines in our league, really exceptional players. And he was knocked down a little bit, that's for sure. And he kept getting up and answering the bell and showed a lot of toughness. And that's huge for a quarterback, for the rest of your team, especially as a freshman, to see that, hey, I can handle the job and what's asked of it. So we're really excited about JT, as we call him, coming back for sure, having another year of experience. We return all conference players at quarterback and Jaden at running back, and DeMarco Young, who obviously led the league in rushing last year, was the only 1,000-yard rusher in the ARC. He'll be a junior. Noah Craycraft, who I mentioned before, is a first-team all-conference guy coming back as a junior and a captain for us. And a couple offensive linemen. Our tight end, Casey Godbout, who's from Glenwood originally, tore up his meniscus pretty bad in the Wartburg game and ended up redshirting. So he'll get that year back, and it'll be a huge part of our offense that we didn't have last year. Definitely a lot of guys on our offensive side, including a couple of returning starters in our offensive line that we're looking forward to. And then defensively, we graduated a defensive tackle in CJ Handgardner, who was an all-regional, all-conference guy, was a menace in our league. We'll miss him really well. We graduated. He's over in Germany, finishing up his first season playing overseas. But we did have some injuries at our outside backer, and really 2 freshmen that started every single game last year for us. So you could argue, even with losing CJ, we really have 4 linebackers that started more than half the season. And we should really have a lot of experience in our defensive front. And then in our secondary, we'll have some new faces there, but some guys with some good experience at some different places that we're really excited to see how they fit into our group. A lot of reason to be optimistic about the guys we have coming back. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Ton of talent. Is Simpson turned into Iowa's farm system here for special teams? Because that still, to me, is crazy that Tanner Philpott on your team went from D3 to D1 to typically punting what people view as punting you.
Oh, yeah. And all those things just kind of came to a head over Christmas break, where Tanner is obviously a great player for us, but just a great person, very tied into our community. Simpson was a great decision for him because, he very popular within our football team. A guy was on our leadership council and very involved there. He was a student ambassador. He was giving campus tours to students that were visiting for the first time. Very popular on our campus in a lot of different circles. Yeah, it's one of those things that happened. Hawkeyes lost their punter and kind of late December, and Tanner really didn't have any interest, never discussed leaving Simpson, never had a reason to do that, but also grew up a lifelong Hawkeyes fan and had some opportunities at the Division I level out of high school as well, out of Waukee Northwest. But one of those things where they reached out to their local kicking guy and, hey, do you have anybody that might fit? And Tanner certainly did. And in a matter of a couple of days, he buzzed over there and some good conversations, and we're sad to see him leave, but really excited. He'll be in the mix for their punting job. I'm talking to their staff a little bit this summer, guys that I've known for years. He'll have a pretty good shot at it. We're pulling for him. We're excited to see him out there on TV for sure, but he's already told me his off week matches up with our homecoming. So he's coming back for our homecoming, and I don't know that we'll be able to put a helmet on him, but he'll be here to support for sure.
Hey, Ghost, Simpson scores a lot of points. They don't have punting as winning T-shirts.
That's true.
A little different.
Probably why he went over to Iowa City. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Hey, that could be why. As a Hawkeye fan, I welcome him with open arms.
He wins that job, he will be a celebrity in that town. No question about it. And, I don't know if Tanner wants that necessarily. He's not really that type of kid, but I wish him nothing but the best. Saw him a bunch this summer at workouts when we were working camps, and just an exceptional person. And it's hard when your specialists both transfer to Division I schools, but
Yeah.
no, we're happy for both those guys. It was good situations for them, and excited about some of the guys that are honestly going to step into their role too.
Yeah. Plenty to be excited about in Indianola. I'll hit you with a couple quick rapid fires and then we'll let you get going. We appreciate your time, Coach. I just want to know, who's your favorite NFL team? Who's your favorite NFL player? Maybe growing up or current?
Yeah, this won't give me any brownie points around here, but growing up in the state of Iowa, you pick. There's a lot of Bears, a lot of Chiefs people, especially around here. Drew Bledsoe was my guy. When I was in middle school, I was a big, heavy-footed quarterback, was not an athletic guy. I remember watching him at Washington State play, and I'm like, man, that's my guy, right? And I got drafted by the Patriots, so I immediately became a Patriots fan at that point. Some great coaches, Pete Carroll, Bill Parcells, and then Belichick takes over, and that Bledsoe guy gets hurt, and Tom Brady becomes certainly a figurehead there. And certainly he was a guy that I supported. Being a former quarterback and a quarterback coach, you always draw things from the way that he approaches the game. So that would definitely be my Tom Brady and the Patriots for sure. I was excited to see them in the Super Bowl last year, but it seemed like they were a little ahead of schedule from what I saw. That's for sure.
Yeah, Vrabel certainly can get the most out of players, and that's a little bit of a sore subject for me, being a Tennessee Titans fan.
Oh.
I was really sad to see him go, but certainly a lot to be excited about with another year of growth for a young New England team, like you said, ahead of schedule. Do you have a pregame ritual or a pregame meal that you always go to?
No, not really. I don't. It's probably not the way to go. I don't eat a ton on game day. Just moving around, plenty of coffee for sure. And that kind of depends a little bit home or away as far as what we do. But a lot of our home games are caught up in talking to a lot of recruits and seeing a lot of families. And it's kind of a whirlwind. And all of a sudden it's kickoff that way. It's really getting a chance to see a lot of people. There's just a lot of excitement, certainly here during home games. Away games affords you the opportunity to relax a little bit once you get there and you get out to the field. And I like to just sit in some chairs, our old line chairs out there on the field a couple hours before kickoff, and hopefully enjoy the sun and talk to some of our student managers and just see how life's going for them. Anytime they have an opportunity to just connect with some people around me, it reminds you how lucky we are to be where we are and get you excited for kickoff. Not too exciting, I wouldn't say, but mainly coffee and good conversation, I guess, would be my pregame routine.
Gets you to the game. That's awesome. And we always end with one final question here. And I need to know, if I'm going to a game in Indianola, where's a place that I could get a bite to eat before game or after the game, or maybe a beer? What's your go-to?
Yeah. Oh man, that has evolved a ton here in Indianola from what I remember coming as a recruit. Just the community in general, all the different businesses and restaurants that have come in. It's been awesome. It really has. So everything from your B-dubs types of things to a lot of our local places. My favorite couple restaurants, Pete's Pizza is a landmark here. Little mom and pop hole in the wall type of place, but is a phenomenal pizza place. And we have a bunch of good ones. Charlotte's Kitchen is a great place for chicken, biscuits. It's a staff favorite for sure over there. So those are some local places I always recommend. But if you're looking for a good atmosphere and grabbing a few beers, you always see a ton of our supporters at Sports Page here in town, Brick House, which is downtown. Great places to certainly get together with some friends and watch some football and have some smart conversation. That's for sure.
I had a feeling you were going to say those two first ones with the restaurants. Charlotte's Kitchen's another one of mine. I work over in Johnston and just an exit down, and I frequent that probably more than I probably should.
It's good.
But my waistline's telling me not to. But no, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us today and tell us more about the 2026 Storm and tell everyone a little bit more about how you got to where you're at. Again, thanks a lot, and looking forward to following the Storm's progress in 2026.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on, and keep up all the great work, and looking forward to another great season with you guys too. Thanks, guys.